Welcome back, everybody, to the GGBL. We're finally back with an upload. We're here. We're in the off season for season number 3. If you guys remember, we left off on a spot where we had to determine what exclusive free agents, 80 and above, were going to elect free agency. So if you guys remember this, how we did it last year, this is the same process. We're just going to wheel spin, yes or no decision, if they're going to stay or test free agency. Now, we'll get to that in a moment. But I do want to talk about some managerial changes. So the Minnesota Jacks have hired a new coach from the Las Vegas Nuggets organization. New York Pizzazz hiring Chad Matala, coming from the major leagues. So he couldn't find a home. He couldn't find a job in minor league baseball. So he found the next best thing with the GGBL. So he's coming on over to New York from the Tampa Bay Rays organization. The new hitting coach for the New Orleans Swing is Cutter Capone. Go figure that. With the Swing nickname, I don't think you want to mess with Cutter Capone. You know what I mean? Now, interesting move here for the Seattle Emeralds. They're going after a guy by the name of Robert Riggs. He did not manage in the GGBL last season. He was actually the hitting coach of the Chunichi Dragons, and he's credited as one of the big pieces of the success of that team. He does have some connections with Goro Kobayashi and Joe Shotora, two Japanese players on the Emeralds. So he's going to head out there to try to help that team get the offense moving just a little bit. Ron Washington going back home to New Orleans. He's going to be their farm director. So I thought that was a pretty cool storyline. And Richmond has fired their pitching coach. And then instead they've hired Brian Flutie, which is Vic Flutie's cousin, their second baseman, if you guys remember this, you know. Vic Flutie's a big player in this organization now that we traded him from Michigan. So Hefner's gone. Brian Flutie is in to pitching coach. So, little interesting move right there. There's been rumors that Alexei Shevchuk might be on his way out if Richmond doesn't get over the top. And then they've also fired their hitting coach, Stunner Gonzalez. And instead going after this guy, Richie Hennessy, citing that they want to be better with runners in scoring positions. A lot of clutch factor. They want to focus on that. And just like that, within a couple hours, both those coaches from Richmond, Stunner Gonzalez and Hefner, they go latch on with Minnesota with their new head coach. So Minnesota Jacks owner Andrew Paul Bunyan, made it clear that mediocrity is unacceptable here, and he cited shifts in leadership for the Jacks players and game day staff. He wants his team to be a little bit more prepared with the young guns. So a lot of moves being made here on both the managerial fronts and the positional coaches as well, hitting coaches, pitching coaches, so on and so forth. Now, big news on X or Twitter. Janiel Rivera says, "I think it's time." What does he mean by that? Well, guys, his overall is decreasing. His loss numbers have increased. His win totals have decreased. Things have been going on the downslope a little bit there for Janiel. Had a better ERA, a little bit higher of a whip, not as many complete games, not as many shutouts, and the K per 9 has gone down. So he wants out. Where does he want to go? Well, he wants to go to Columbus. Yeah, he wants to go to Columbus to play with the other two-way player in this league, John Choi. So Elior Lederman has a connection with Los Angeles. He's got his brother, Ethan Lederman, out there at shortstop. So I think this is a match made in heaven. But the question is can a deal be struck to go get a player of the caliber of Janiel Rivera? Looks like Columbus has the assets that they need to go get a guy like Janiel. 74A Ray Zildasic has not really had much of a chance to get up here with Columbus. He's got that A potential. Seems like a good player to go get. Ben McGinnis can play a little outfield, can play a little bit of first as well. Got some decent size to him. He's 25 B potential, and he's a pretty solid outfielder, something that LA is going to need if they're going to give up Janiel, because he does play two ways. He does play the outfield. Plus, Landon Traxler, really good contact hitter and really good speed as well. Got to work on the power side and the fielding, but he's going to be a solid player for them in the future. At 20 years old, I think it's a good trade. 3-for-1. Columbus gets a game changer in Janiel Rivera. So up on your screen, guys, I'm just showing you real quick kind of like my process of going through the tender contracts. I had to do this for all 30 teams. So that's really what takes the majority of the time, plus creating your custom players for the next season. So that's really why the offseason just takes forever. Now up on your screen, I'm talking about channel points here. So I did kind of change how channel points work. You can rename a CPU player for the price there. 300 points, 200 points, or 100 points, depending on the overall rating that you want to go get. Now you can earn channel points through many different ways, just by joining a live stream here on the GGBL channel, or going over to my main channel, GG9, which then every week, or at least they try to do it every week, give you guys a Google form to fill out, answer some questions based on the content, who's going to have this many yards, who's going to hit this many home runs, so on and so forth, and then you win channel points. With those channel points, you can then rename CPU players, you can upgrade your custom players that you have in the league. Guys like Samuel Wilson, that's coming on over here from the draft class. You've got Lorenzo Zanetti, that's my dude. I won some channel points because I played in the Fantasy Challenge for this season, actually last year for year 2, and I won this guy. So he's a 65 B potential pitcher. I wanted him to come on over here to New Orleans. He's an international prospect, 25 years old, so he's a little bit older, trying to make a name for himself in the GGBL. And here's how the Fantasy Challenge works throughout the season. So we have a little Excel spreadsheet, tracks their statistics. There's my lineup there. I had Neo Zamora, Chucky Morton, Trey Mashburn, some big heavy hitters there, but it just didn't quite get it done. I finished in about 5th or 6th place there for the season. And with that, I won some channel points. And with that, I also won a prospect. You can choose whether you want to go in the draft class or if you want to be an international player. Lorenzo Zanetti, my guy, was an international player, and he's from Italy. So got something more to talk to you guys about with international players here in a little bit. Now, let's go back here to the wheel spins for exclusive free agents. We see that DeMarcus King from New York, he's going to elect free agency. He's going to say yes to that. We have Ethan Lederman, luckily, because they just traded for his brother Elior. Luckily, that makes sense. He doesn't want to go to free agency. He's going to say, I want to stay in LA. Daryl Vargas, he's going to go test free agency, so he's not going to re-sign with the Washington Swamp Monsters. He's a closer. Jared Cherry is also going to say yes. Now, he's out of Boston, just like last season where Ricky Hoberman elected free agency. He's gone as well. So, Paxton Burnside, if you guys saw that, Colorado, it was a mistake, like he hasn't signed yet, but Paxton Burnside is a custom player. He said, yes, I want to come back to Colorado. He DM'd me that, and there's your list of all of the custom players up on the board here. So, Daryl Vargas is going to be first off of our board. Let's wheel spin it. Everybody could use a closer, so everybody's on this list. Let's see where he goes. He could go to Las Vegas, but he is going to go to Colorado. The champs. How about that? Vargas actually pitched against Colorado in the wild card, if you guys remember this past postseason. So it's almost like a, if you can't beat him, join him type of situation. So I think that's hilarious that the wheel chose him to go there. Now, a guy like DeMarcus King, for everybody else going forward, I do have a couple of exceptions here that I'll talk about in a moment, but a guy like DeMarcus King, not everybody needs a second baseman. So I had my admin team, and I come up with a list of teams across the league that really needed a second baseman of his caliber. We landed on those teams to wheel spin. He goes to Chicago. Now, Jared Cherry, kind of the same situation. Where's he going to go? From Boston. Boston can't be on the list. So where's he going? He's got LA, Philly, New York, Michigan, OKC, Seattle, and Wisconsin, but it's gonna land on the Los Angeles Knights. Ugh. For all of us out there that cannot stand the LA Knights, they're going to poach Jared Cherry away from the competition. And you know what? That's hilarious because they, after trading Janil Rivera, they got Elior Lederman in. Now they're gonna get Jared Cherry in. So they've pretty much consolidated 2 pitchers for the loss of Janil. So it's 2 really good pitchers, by the way, for the loss of Janil. Now, Denzel Good, a shortstop, utility guy that played for Houston, he's going to come on over here to Pittsburgh. Only a 2-year deal is what he was looking for. So, you know, it's a little cheap, but I think that fits with how he styles his game. Not cheap, but he's just kind of a team player. Let's put it that way. Now, here's the exceptions. You got Mark LaPierre, an 80 overall pitcher. He's a soft tosser. He's got 1 velocity. So, I mean, what's his market really look like? It looks like everybody should be up on the board to go get a guy like that. OKC is going to luck out here with the wheel spin. They're going to need him as like a number 3, number 4 guy. And then the same thing here with Ali Finger. He's going to sign with Washington. So that only bolsters Washington's rotation. And we're going to see what they offer him here. He's 26 years old. He's looking for a big-time deal. It's quite a bit of money there. So Finger's going to get a big paycheck. A lot bigger than what he was getting out in Nashville. And then Mark LaPierre is signing with the Oklahoma City Cyclones. Now, back to Discord. I do have a little update here. The Good Boys are trading with Boston a couple of their depth pieces. We just got that Samuel Wilson, so the brother of Darius Wilson, our shortstop, through a contest. So that's where he wanted to go, is Richmond. So we got a new catcher. We could afford to get rid of one of our catchers, Lucas Harden. And I know that Boston needs some depth because they're losing a lot of talent. Plus, we needed another first baseman to fill out our organization. That just adds to our depth in the organization. I think it was a good move for both teams. Gus Staples has been a guy that has never really gotten a call at the big league level, despite his numbers. He's got a lot of power, which is going to be something that really works for Boston. They're able to move Bud Brewer, who was a backup first baseman / outfielder. He's going to move out to the outfield. Mike Price can now play first base full time. Lip Branson can now play third because they now got a new backup catcher. It just works for Boston. I think it helped Boston more than it helped us at Richmond. Now Miami and Seattle are going to connect here to make a trade, and they didn't really need another outfielder, but it's hard to pass up on a guy like Johnny Zuniga. Look at the contact numbers, look at the speed and the fielding. He's not a one-trick pony, but he's really good in a lot of different areas. So I think with that B potential, he's going to compete with those other offensive pieces in the outfield. Playing time might be scarce, but I think when he gets in there, he's going to contribute. Seattle gets a decent pitcher here with Kazuhito Suzuki. 79 overall. They needed a little bit more depth there at their pitching rotation, so I think he's going to help. Now, Nashville and Carolina are going to strike a deal here. Carolina GM basically saying that this was a no-brainer, that Johnny Wilson, the starting pitcher, wasn't really being used a whole lot in Nashville, so they figured, why not go get him? It's just bolstering that rotation. I think they have one of the best rotations in the entire GGBL. Plus, they got a lot of depth in minor leagues as well. Carson Vine, it's not that they didn't believe in him. He was just kind of withering away in there and at AAA and wasn't really going to ever get the call-up. He's being blocked there by Damian Wright. So it just made sense to move on from him. Now the draft lottery. The Mighty Beavers move up 2 spots, taking it away from the Flight. The Philadelphia Flight are the worst luck franchise, even dating back to GGBL 21. Worst luck franchise in the league, man. They just cannot catch a break. So our top 50 prospects look here, just kind of getting you familiarized with the guys of the future for the GGBL. I'll talk to you about a couple custom players here in just a second, like Jordan Van, Tony Salsa, Frank Giuliani, now over there for New Orleans. I'll do a little roster preview in a separate video or in my Discord. I haven't really quite decided yet what I want to do with that, but we also have an international prospect here, Wolfgang von Dietrich. We also have Cesar Borgia, an international prospect as well, Vladimir Drago from Russia. We got a lot of international guys coming over. They get immediate playing time because they're a little bit older, 25 years old, and they got a little more veteran presence there. A couple custom guys that were drafted last year. Johnny Redmayne, a shortstop that can play a little bit of outfield as well. Ragnar Lothbrok from Norway, and not to mention that, hey, Vito Vega, didn't mention him. We got Yoma Kitkat, was an international. Actually, he was not an international. He was a draft class prospect. And Emile Dufresne Lapointe from Canada. So he is a Frenchie. Freddie Altoro was also drafted. So here's a kind of a first look, if you will, for some of your guys. Marcus Trumbullin, Spencer Clark, starting pitcher out there for Phoenix. Neto Montoya was a guy that was just added here from a contest. And then Zhao Ipman from China, catcher. So pretty funny for Michigan, right? They got rid of Parvin Mira. They traded for Luigi Mazza. Parvin Mira was their catcher, their hard-hitting catcher. Good contact numbers for him. He goes out to New Orleans, and then they go out and they get this guy, Ipman. He's going to be a huge player. Miles Hendricks is another guy. Watch out for Miles Hendricks. He's a two-way player. Slade Maverick, really low overall, 60, but with the A potential, he might be a pretty good one. Connor Staples is a two-way guy as well for Kansas City. Smudge Murphy, a catcher/outfielder. Joey Bing, shortstop for Houston, was drafted last year. Mel Pineda was a guy that was signed out of free agency. And Hayden Carver was one of the better players from last year's draft class. He's now a 77 through channel points upgrades. So again, keep in mind some of those guys. Connor Murphy, good contact numbers, decent power. He's going to be a pretty decent player. He's down there in AAA. Looks like he's going to come up here not too long. Dastan Taj Mahal was drafted last year as well. Woodrow Severs was traded to New Orleans last year in the deal for Luigi Mazza, I believe it was. Cesar Paniagua, a potential player for the Maroons. It's a good list of prospects, guys. I'm excited to see how these guys do in the minors and keep tabs on them. And then when we finally see them get the call up, let's keep tabs on them and see how that they do, right? Who are you most excited for just based on the attributes, based on the overall? Let me know in the comment section who you're looking out for. Guys, that's it for the postseason. That's it for the offseason. Like, we're done with it. We're now moving on to year number 3. Here we go. Opening day. I'm going to try to show as many games as I possibly can fit in here. Just depends on the pitching matchup, depends on kind of some storylines. We're not going to show everybody. Maybe some rookie debuts. That could possibly be a storyline to cover and dive into a matchup. But guys, let me know in the comment section what matchups that you'd like to see. And then if there's a consensus there, then maybe that's something that we can kind of agree on to show as well and include on the opening day upload. So guys, head on over to the Discord. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Lots to talk about in there for the future of the GGBL. Wink, wink. I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, thank you so much for watching, and peace.